Hi, this is Tracy Taylor with the Wasatch Taxpayers Association. We're doing candidate interviews for the Heber City Council primary race in 2019. And if you want more information about Wasatch Taxpayers Association, you can go to wasatchtaxpayersassociation.com. Today we have Perry Rose. He has run before a couple of years ago, and he's running again. And why don't you start and tell the people why you decided to run again and where they can go for more information about you?
Absolutely. Thanks, Tracy. I ran 2 years ago, and today I'm glad I didn't win that election because I've learned a lot in the last 2 years. One of the reasons that I'm running is because I hear so many of our people say, geez, we're not getting represented. I said, what do you mean we're not getting represented? Well, you know, it's the new people that have moved in and nobody listens to the old town, and old town's old town. That concerns me. Senior citizen things concern me. But as I look at these people and I have to face with them, and here's my issue with them. They don't like change. None of us do. But we know what's coming. We need a group of people in there that's willing to work together to make the appropriate changes and move forward this community. But let's not lose sight of everyone. These people that grew this community up were crying. They cry hard every night when they go to bed, and I know they pray hard. I know some good friends of mine. I'm on the senior citizens board here, and many of them people have come and talked to me, and they're heartbroken. Does that mean that everything they say needs to be done? No, and that's not what they're saying. They just want to be a part of the decision making, and that's who I'm going to represent, is those people that feel like, hey, listen, don't take my word for it, but check it out yourself, and let's get the best thing that's for the community.
Okay.
And I can do that. And my career in law enforcement, I've run my own business. I'm not old school, and I'm not young school. I'm right there in the middle, and I've got a good open ear. And what I'll promise the people is I will bring issues to the table. I'll stand for what I think's right. I think it's important. There are constituents that put us in there and do the things what we need, that they ask us to do. We represent them people. Now, that might mean we have to go against them sometimes.
Right.
But that doesn't mean there'll be a good reason why we want to get them.
Well, and we'll talk more about issues. Tell the folks where they can learn more about you.
My phone number. Let me give you my phone number. I'm not a big man to social media. I'm not websites. I'm the type of guy, you want to know, you give me a call on the phone. We'll talk on the phone if you want to. My phone is always open. I always answer it. But more than that, I'll set up a meeting and I'll come sit down with you and talk to you. I'll give you my opinion, and it won't be a political opinion. It'll be my opinion for what I know now. I may learn something over a period of time like I have the last 2 years and have a different perspective on a couple of things.
What's your phone number?
801-420-1298.
And do you have an email address?
Yep. It's piman1298@yahoo.com.
Okay, great. Let me ask you a philosophical question right now.
Okay.
What do you believe the role of the city council should be? Do you believe that all expenditures and policies should come out of the city council and the manager and staff implement those decisions? Or do you feel that, you know, manager and staff bring things to the council and it's up to the council to support the staff? Where do you think those decisions should originate from?
I think that's kind of combined to some extent. I think it's important that our constituents out here, our general public, tell us what they want. And then once they tell us what we want, I think it's important for us to go back and say, this is what I'm hearing from our general public. Mm-hmm. And then we get our staff, who we've hired and trust, to say, put us together what this would cost, what it is, bring it to us, then we need to study that, consider it. If it looks right, then we vote on it and we head that direction. I don't think that city council people should have their thumb. I'm not a big advocate of city manager form of government. I liked it when the city councilman was over each division and they'd go represent. It seemed like to me it was a better representation. And I worked during the city, in the city, for the city during that time, and I thought it worked real well. But our city's a lot bigger now, and maybe that can't happen. But we're going to tell the city manager who's going to tell each department head what to do. And if that city manager says, we're not going to do that, we've had that happen in the past, we pull his reins in. We're the one that's going to make the direction. It's his obligation to get us there.
Okay. There's a couple issues that I think the citizens really want to have a clear idea of how you feel about, all the candidates feel about when we're growing so fast and things are happening to us. I think a yes or no answer is appropriate for some of these questions, because I think we need to be clear with the public at this point in our, how Heber City is at this moment in our growth. And so one of them is the airport. Would you consider voting to expand the airport or not? And we are doing a master plan. It's going to take at least a year to do this. What would the master plan have to say for you to decide to vote to expand the airport?
They're going to have to prove to me that it is a safety, and the majority of the public here in Heber City want to expand it. My answer right now, it's a B2 airport. We're going to leave it a B2 airport. To go to C2 just gives them another ramp to go to the next step. I think there's things that we can do out there to bring companies in that that pays a good wage that people can raise a family on. And I think that's the direction we need to go. Not let's expand it to bring in bigger planes or bring in more people. We're big enough. We're 27 miles from Provo. We're 45 minutes away from Salt Lake City. This isn't going to be a natural hub. It's never going to be big enough that we can bring commuters in here. And if that's the way you think they're going to make money, that's how you're going to make money. You're going to have a commercial airline in here. My answer to the airport is we've expanded as far as we're going to go. Let's develop what we have, and let's not go any bigger.
Okay. The bypass is...
So let me tell you, that's a no.
Okay.
Flat out for me.
Well, I appreciate the black and white answer there. Thank you. The bypass is another issue that we've been discussing for years. UDOT just had a meeting last week where they talked about how they're going to do the EIS study and how they're going to come up with some preferred routes. The citizens will have input throughout that process, but it's almost like we got to see what those routes are going to be or how that's all going to pan out. My question to the candidates have been, do you think we need a bypass? Just a very philosophical, straight up question. Are you someone who believes we're needing a bypass to get some of the traffic off of Main Street, or do you feel that a bypass is going to take business off of Main Street and we don't necessarily need to have a bypass?
Many years ago, that same question was asked to a city council friend of mine by the name of Shoot Clay. And Max Mawini come in and asked that question. And his answer was, well, I think we're not to the point that we need a bypass yet. And that bypass was put aside. My answer to that is, we need to do something with our traffic, and yes, we need a bypass. We've got to get some of the larger commercial vehicles onto the bypass. We got to get those people that are not wanting to stop in Heber City to their campsites and back in a safe manner. We need a bypass. Where's the best place for that? I'm not sure yet. What's the best way to put that in? I'm not sure yet. There's a lot of stuff that I need to get information about. And in my last campaign, I told people the bypass is a necessity. We need to get it done now. we got to work with the right people, but the main people we have to work with is the citizens. I know that whole west side is all up in arms that we're going to cut through their area. That's not necessarily true. Let's take a look at what they're going to bring to us. Someone's going to be upset that we're going to put that bypass in because it's going to go down in front of their yard or wherever it's going to be. But what's the path of least resistance, and what is the safest and best location for us to put that?
Okay.
That's a study they're going with now. Mm-hmm. But here's my other fact on that bypass. Everybody's counting on the bypass. There's some things we can do right now to lead the traffic on Main Street. And people say, well, what is that? Well, has anybody ever thought about, let's bring a busing company up here and start busing people around town or busing people to Park City? I know there's some studies going on about that, but why do we got to study everything like that? When we're in the situation we're in right now with our traffic situation and our transportation, we're in need right now. And if you don't believe me, I just drove from my house on 5th North here. What people don't understand is we're already in a dangerous situation, and here's why. People come into town, whether it's a Friday, Saturday night, whether it's a Monday, Tuesday night, it doesn't really matter. That Main Street gets busy. The first thing they do, I need to get home to my kids, or I need to get home and fix dinner. They're going to turn off and find a simpler way. When we do that and we drive through our back streets, we jeopardize our kids that are out there playing, that are home from school and doing this and doing that. Not only that, we've changed the markings on our back streets, but they're not the greatest. Our police department's done as much as they can, but there's a lot of things that we can do to lead traffic problems, in my opinion. Them ideas is what I want to bring to the city council and say, hey, what about this? Let's think outside of the box before we think just inside the box.
Okay. The master plan is being done right now. We did the Envision 2050. There was a lot of public input. It's going to take a little while to get that master plan done. But my question is, once it's done, once we have the zoning and the density figured out and where we want it to be, are you willing to uphold that master plan? Or do you figure that you will look at each development separately? Invariably, the developers will want more density. Are you willing to consider more density? Or are you thinking that once the master plan is done, we have to follow it?
Well, I can tell you that's a real simple question for me. I will stick to the plan. As long as our people in this community said this is what we're going to allow, that's what we allow. And these big developers, they come in and they will sue you because of this. Then sue us. That's why we got liability insurance. Don't be afraid of these guys. Don't let them push us around. Don't let them promise to pad our pockets. And that sounds horrible, but that's what happens. We haven't got the water, which we're in problems with. We can't build schools fast enough. Slow down. People, in my last campaign, I said the exact same thing. Well, how do you stop them? Here's our rules. If you don't like them, go somewhere else. That's how black and white I am. I'll stick to the plan. Even if I don't agree with the plan, maybe I think it's too many, if that's the plan and that's what it's set up, then that's what we'll stick with.
Okay.
But I'll let it be well known. I don't want it.
Okay. I asked all the candidates the same question. Do you have any conflicts of interest that you think if you get on the city council that may come up? The mayor every meeting does ask the council, looking at the agenda for that evening, whether there's any conflicts that they have during that agenda. And so I'm just asking everybody up front, do you foresee any conflicts of interest arising?
No, I don't. There's occasions when a family member or something like that comes up for something, but and that would make it well known that, hey, I'm out of this vote. I spent 8 years on a board in Salt Lake and had a couple of conflicts of interest, people coming in. I was appointed by the governor for a security board, and there was a couple of people that come in that work for me, and you just have to be up front. Let them know right up front, hey, I can't vote on this.
Where are you working currently?
I work for the Pit Stop Health Club.
Okay.
Head of maintenance and engineering down there, and so I have have an open schedule. That's what's nice about my job. So I can make meetings, I can go here, I can go there. I've talked to my boss and said, look, he said, I don't care. You just give me 40 hours, and I don't care when you do it. I just need things done.
Okay.
And I told him this is going to take some time, and he's all right with that.
Okay. I have this feeling that there's two different types of politicians. There's the ones that try to listen to the constituents and implement their wishes, and then there's another type of politician that honestly says, look, you elected me to do a job, so I may have privy information that the citizens don't have, just let me govern in your best interest. Where do you fall between the two of those?
I do not keep secrets very well. I'm not that type of a person. I'm kind of black and white. If you come up and ask me, expect what I'm going to tell you, and don't be afraid of it. We don't have to be enemies. I'm the kind of guy that if I tell you this is what I'm going to do, then I'm going to do it. And unless the other five or the other four go against me, that's the way I'm going to push. I'm not a yes man by no means. Matter of fact, I'm a more no man than I am a yes man. But I think that I stand for the constituents, and the majority of the people will say, this is what I think. Now, there's times out there that you hear from a small group, and you've got to go out and look past that and say, hey, this small group's got a real squeaky wheel, and you get that on all these big issues. You got to listen to the rest of the people too. So if I have the knowledge and all the facts in front of me are the facts, and I will check them out to make sure they're facts, I'll vote that way.
What issue do you want to bring to the table if you get elected? Is there anything that you have ideas about that you would like to have a chance to implement if you're on the city council?
I think we've covered some of them. Some of them are, don't be afraid to say no. To stand up to these big developers that come in and they just want to make money. That's all they want to do is make money. And they're not bad people. They're in it for the money, and that's what it is. The other thing that I'd like to implement that's big on my table is our school. We're spending all this money, and who's costing that? Get this, I've done some research to this. There's very little communication between our school board, our city council, and our county council, Midway City. They don't have regular meetings. Oh, they can go to this, have one meeting, but I guess the school board doesn't show up very often, and sometimes some of the city people don't. There needs to be at least a quarterly meeting where the city meets with the school board. I think the county ought to be involved in that, Midway City. I'd like to get that meeting started. I know it's another meeting, but there's not one thing that the city does that doesn't impact our schools. When we do we approve these big developments, I'd like to ask the city council today, how many of you stopped and thought about, well, what are we going to do about a school for all the kids that are going to be in them? I'll bet you that didn't go through a lot of their minds. If it did, then why did they vote for it? Vice versa. Every time the school board has to go out, buy land, and build a new school, it affects transportation, it affects sewer, water, power. It impacts the city or the county. Well, then why are they not meeting together, communicating? When we talk about let's do a plan, shouldn't they be involved? Them two should be involved. That's something that, in my opinion, needs to happen, and it needs to happen sooner than later, or else we're just going to be chasing our tail. I think right now, the city council are doing the best that they can do with what they have. The problem is they're reacting, they're not proacting. Our law enforcement has really made a big step up, I think, around here. It's because Chief Booth is proactive, he's not reactive. I don't agree with everything he does. Him and I have had our differences, but at the same time, we understand each other. And I think that comes from my law enforcement background, his law enforcement background, and I'm appreciative that he's brought that police department from a low level to a much higher standard.
Okay, great. Well, thanks. Why don't you just take a couple minutes and tell the folks why they should vote for you, and give them a little...
I'm not much of a bragger on myself, and I'm not a politician. That's my whole thing. That's why I think you ought to vote for me, is because I'm not your normal politician and person that's just a yay, nay, and, well, I'll tell you this just to make you feel all giggly inside, but I'm going to vote this way. You look at me, you ask me a question. If I don't have the answer to it, I'll go find it, I'll get back with you. And then I'll give you the opportunity to change my mind. And that's where I'm at. I think sometimes we get too hooked on not being able to disagree without being enemies. I want people to know I'm not connected with any of the other candidates. It's important for me to stand on my own. I'll either win this election on my own or I'll lose it on my own. I don't want to be connected with another 3 candidates. So, okay, when we get in there, we'll have the majority vote. That's wrong to me. That's improper. And I think what we need to make sure that we do is stand on our own 2 feet, go in there with a good open mind, and represent the people that elected us to be there. And that's what I guarantee I'll do.
Great, thanks so much. And we'll have all 8 candidates here, but I hope this is of good information for you guys to make an educated decision when the ballots come out next week. Thank you.